Look at this ASMR. Do you like that?
Yeah.
This is me.
Candy?
Opening. Oh, just a little Halloween treat.
Let me see if I can guess what it is. Hold it a little bit closer. Okay, so that's the wrapper, the outside wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
Take a bite of it.
I did.
Oh. It doesn't make a sound, so it's very quiet. The wrapper sounds a little plasticky. Like not like a soft, like not that soft waxy paper that's on the outside of a Tootsie Roll. This is like is it a Reese's cup? Because it sounds very like it has like a harder texture to it, because like the fun size candy bars are like a softer plastic, but that's what you have is like a harder, like crispier.
This is
it's like a plastic Smarties.
It's not a Reese's.
Or it's
It's not a Reese's, but this is the same plastic as a Reese's. Oh,
what is it?
here's what they sound like together.
Okay.
Not chocolate.
You're attaching the candies together to make a noise?
I'll give you a clue.
Are
Marshawn Lynch.
What did you say?
Marshawn Lynch.
I don't know. Is that a person?
Oh my God.
The only Marshawn I know is a teacher.
Wowzers. You don't even gotta follow sports to know Marshawn Lynch.
I don't do sports balls.
Over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Okay, well, just tell me.
In they motherfucking face.
I don't know.
Bust that motherfucker in his motherfucking face.
No, I don't know.
Over and over and over and over and over and over. You know what? You need to get into a vortex. Go to YouTube and just type in funny Marshawn Lynch, and you will find a bunch of just a wall of the most hilarious. He's the loveliest, funniest, naturally funny, just the shit he says, football player.
Okay.
He loves Skittles.
I was going to say it's Skittles or M&M's. So
Skittles.
I was on the right track.
Hold on a second. Now I have to play you a track of him.
How do you know who he is?
Marshawn Lynch.
You don't watch football?
Because he's black excellence. Hold on. Yes, you do. I'm just here so I don't get fined. What? See, I wouldn't even know what team he plays on. I just know he's black excellence.
The only meme kind of thing like that I hear from my boys is that thing that goes LeBron James, LeBron James, LeBron James. That's the only like current sports reference I have.
There's one that goes Beast Mode.
Yeah, I've heard Beast Mode, but I thought that was just like a
That's
general...
him. He's Beast Mode.
Okay.
It just clicked in my mind that if you just run through somebody's face, a lot of people ain't gonna be able to take that over and 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 over again. They just not gonna want that.
I was so obsessed with Marshawn Lynch in general. Never seen the man play. Don't know nothing about it. He's had a couple of like offshoot little like comedy shows. Just on the strength that he just says funny shit. And I had a whole line of Melissa Beck merch that was just shit he said on the podcast. I don't know. I just think he's so lovely. Anyway, Marshawn Lynch loves Skittles, and that was my ASMR.
Okay.
Woo!
Wow. Did you check to make sure those Skittles weren't fentanyl?
Oh, yeah. I'm not dead yet, so
You know,
these are safe.
You know drug dealers are trying to give away drugs for free.
Girl, the things that they put in the media, I don't know what's going on with OWN, Fox News.
Oh, man.
It's that Facebook vortex
It's bananas.
of just disputable lies. Are y'all hearing yourself?
Listen, it might be, I mean, I don't know. I'm still waiting to find razor blades in my candy. I'm still waiting to find
Waiting
a lot
all
of
this
things.
time.
All this time.
Do you know why that came to be? Do you know where the myth of razor blades, poison, needles, and shit like that, where that myth of your Halloween candy being tampered with came from?
Did it originate with like the satanic panic back in the 70s and 80s?
I don't know if it was the 70s or 80s satanic panic, but I mean, I gotta Google it now. You can't just drop
That's
that
like,
shit and
no,
just be
it's like
making it.
that, it's like the Chicago Tylenol, where they were being laced with, arsenic?
That's where it came from.
Oh my gosh.
Where did myth of razors in candy come from? Hold on.
I mean, it's smart.
Okay, here we go. The real story behind Halloween candy tampering. Every year, reports of trick-or-treaters falling victim to tampered Halloween candy make headlines across the country, confirming concerned parents' worst fears. Razor blades, sewing needles, even poison. Police forces across North America have reported cases of nefarious objects and treats for decades. But how many children have actually been seriously injured or died as a result? Not a single goddamn one. There have been 4 cases of suspected tampering related to Halloween candy reported to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency between April 1st, 2008 and October 15th, 2009. Joel Best, a University of Delaware sociology and criminal justice professor, has researched reports of Halloween candy tampering in the U.S. dating back to the 50s. In a study he called Halloween Sadism, and he could not find a single report of a child killed or seriously injured from a contaminated treat received during trick-or-treating. And I remember dumping all the candy out and like feeling each bag and checking it really good.
Oh, we would have, if we wanted to eat something while we were trick-or-treating, we would have to give it to my dad, and he had a flashlight, and he'd have to like look at the candy as we opened it before we were allowed to eat it.
See? Yes. And that we used to dump our... I don't even know how I knew about it, because like Shorty Mercy wasn't checking our candy. Okay? But I remember checking it. I remember dumping the pillowcase out, sorting it by category.
Yeah.
And like, these are disgusting, never gonna happen, what do you want to treat it for? And like all the things that I really liked. And I remember sitting there and feeling each one carefully, just so. What if there's a needle in there?
Yeah.
So here's a brief history of candy tampering. The first report of Halloween treats being tampered in the U.S. was in 1959. A California dentist named William Shine distributed 450 laxative-laced candies to children, 30 of whom fell ill. He was later charged with outrage of public decency and unlawful dispensing of drugs. Another high-profile case made headlines in 1964. Here it is, yes. When a 47-year-old mother from Greenlawn, New York, named Helen File handed out bags of treats containing arsenic-laced ant traps, metal mesh scrubbing pads, and dog biscuits.
Helen!
Girl,
Whoa! Helen was
going on
just
with
a raging cunt who hated Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, no, you know what? Actually, I got more in common with Helen than you think. Helen told police she didn't mean it maliciously. She was just annoyed by this Halloween custom. Oh, hold on. She was later committed to a state hospital for mental health. Okay, well, look, we don't have that much in common.
I mean, at least Helen wasn't trying to disguise it as like actual food items. She was just like, here's a bunch of dangerous trash.
Yeah. Yeah, she was like, here, take the scrub buddy. What the fuck? Scrub daddy, whatever.
I would love a scrub daddy in my kids' Halloween.
I know, that would be actually really cute, a Halloween-shaped scrub daddy.
Yeah.
Another often cited case is that of optician in Deer Park, Texas, named Ronald Clark O'Brien, who handed out Pixie Sticks candies to several children while trick-or-treating with his 2 kids. His 8-year-old son, Timothy, suddenly died that night. God damn!
Oh, no.
After consuming the candy, and an autopsy later showed the boy ingested cyanide. So see, it's this one person who tried to kill somebody.
Yeah, they like have a vendetta.
He never owned up to it. He always professes innocence.
Ew.
But he thought he had a brilliant idea. since it was so commonly reported and no one would ever suspect him of killing his son. James Smith, 49, was charged with felony adulteration after 4 teenagers told police they received chocolate bars that were found to contain needles. One of the children was reportedly injured by the needle after he bit into a chocolate bar, but he didn't require medical attention. Smith was deemed unfit to stand trial. Okay, so it's actually like people that are not okay.
Right. I think the lesson here is that it is one very ill person who is trying to specifically harm others. I still think we need to be more concerned with guns in school than dangerous things in Halloween candy.
Correct.
Because guns are going to kill your kids before fentanyl will.
Correct. Correct. And I still don't even understand how that has really taken off so well, because who's giving away anything in this economy?
We're in a fucking recession. Nobody is giving your kids drugs for free. They need that money.
And for what outcome, though? Remember that time I laced all that candy up and killed all them kids and lost a profit? What are you saying?
I think the reason that story has been allowed to grow and change as it has is that it is the tampering of, or the tainting of, a holiday that's typically, it's not, well, people don't associate it with a religion. So Halloween can be for anyone. So it's not like only Christians celebrate or only Jewish people celebrate it. Halloween can be for anyone. It is a time where it is joyful and exciting, and it's, a limited time event that kids get really hyped for. And the thought of someone contaminating it with something dangerous or deadly makes people nervous, because you're doing the thing that your parents always told you not to do, which is what? Take candy from strangers.
Or from a baby.
How many babies are handing out?
It's like candy from a baby. Welcome to the dollhouse. Come on.
Yes. No, I know.
But I also always wonder about that whole idiom. Like, it was like taking candy from a baby. It would be really fucking easy to take candy from a baby.
Who's giving babies
candy?
candy?
Why does the baby have candy?
Yes. That baby doesn't have teeth.
Saying?
That baby does not need candy.
The baby's gonna choke if you don't take the candy.
You should be really more concerned about people giving candy to your baby.
I don't understand where that even came from.
Because babies are weak and helpless, and that it would be a really easy thing to do, is to take candy from a baby. But why does the baby have candy in the first place? It's really just that's a straw man turn of phrase.
Candy from a baby. What?
Okay, well, because now we're in the weeds, so would you like to hear a scary story about Long Island?
Yeah, is it called Long Island?
No.
Is it called 516? Go ahead.
Well, notoriously, Long Island, I think if people think about ghost stories in Long Island, they think about the Amityville Horrors. That might be the most notorious haunting story. But actually, you guys have a lot of things, because I was doing some digging recently to look, and Long Island is supposedly really haunted because you guys have, I hate to say this, let me make sure that when I introduce the idea of Native Americans being on the land and people associating hauntings with the Native Americans that inhabited this land before we so egregiously took it over and called it our own as white people, let's not blame the Native Americans for the ghosts. Let's blame the white people who came and fucking dug up their spiritual sites, dug up their bodies, dug up the shit that they put there on purpose because y'all needed to build a Walmart or whatever the fuck you had to put there. So
any of these stories are really not even spooky stories. They're exactly they're actually an example of don't start none, won't be none.
There won't be
That's
none.
what these really are.
Right. And listen, Ohio is full of Indian burial mounds and all kinds of stuff. So I will say that a lot of these stories were tinged with, ties back to the native people that live there prior to colonization and all the bullshit that happened. But let's not blame those tribes because they were just trying to live their lives, and y'all fucked up. So if you have hauntings from Indian burial sites, that's your own damn fault for building there. So with that disclaimer, you have a place in Long Island called Mount Misery. Have you ever heard of Mount Misery?
Absolutely not.
Well, in Mount Misery, there's also this road called Sweet Hollow Road, and Sweet Hollow Road is actually the site of alleged ghost hauntings, ghost legends. So there's a couple different stories that are associated with this Sweet Hollow Road. The first being that there was once a school bus full of children that was driving along the Northern State Overpass Bridge above Sweet Hollow Road on a snowy day. The driver of the bus lost control. The bus skidded off the bridge and killed everyone inside. And legend has it that if you stop your car under the bridge and you put it in neutral, the spirits of the deceased children will push you forward.
There is something wrong with Diane. No, ma'am.
Oh no, not Aunt Diane.
Nope.
With the same bridge, it's also the subject of another story in which allegedly 3 boys hanged themselves. And the legend has it that if you look up at the overpass while driving underneath, you may catch a glimpse of their bodies.
Now I'm cool.
Also,
because around here on Long Island, if you look up at an overpass, all you'll see is an American flag.
Oh no!
Or a Vote for Zeldin flag. So
also
that
horrifying.
Is scary. So vote blue no matter who. Continue.
Heard. Another legend involves a day camp, which supposedly existed along the road during the 1930s. And it said that some of the children who went to the camp are said to have been abused or even killed, and that their spirits can be occasionally seen walking along the road wearing clothing that would be appropriate for the 1930s, but they quickly vanish. Sweet Hollow Road is also said to be home to a police officer who was shot and killed, and his ghost still patrols the streets and will pull motorists over from time to time. But after letting them go, he turns about to return to his car, only to have his head blown off by a shotgun. The road is the subject of one of the Mary's Grave Legends, and I couldn't find out what the Mary's Grave Legends was, but this version of the story takes place centuries after most of the others that I just shared, and it involves a young woman named Mary who suffered a tragic fate. Mary is said to have gotten into a fight with her boyfriend while driving down the road and was then either pushed out of the car. Wait a minute, how could that be centuries? Oh, this was like recent, sorry. Mary is said to have gotten into a fight with her boyfriend while driving down the road and was then either pushed out of the car by him or jumped out of it herself. In either event, she was quickly hit by oncoming traffic and died. Some say you can still see a lady in white walking along the side of the road and that she'll jump out in front of your car when you pass. Mary's grave and tombstone are also alleged to be located in a small cemetery on Sweet Hollow Road.
Nope.
So spooky.
I'll never go any. Nope.
Not
doing any of that.
There
Why
were
would you
quite
mess
a
with that?
handful of places that were listed. You guys have like an asylum, a haunted asylum there in Long Island, which reminded me I had a haunted asylum just off of campus at OU. That was OU has a lot. I would love to do like a whole podcast series about all of the haunted shit happening in Athens, Ohio, but you guys have a lot of stuff out there, but Amityville I think is probably the scariest. And then you have a haunted asylum, you have a haunted graveyard that's apparently like a really spooky place to be. There's like haunted house tours you can go. So if you're in Long Island and you like this kind of stuff, Google it. I found lihauntedhouses.com and longislandpress.com were the sources where I learned about Mount Misery.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful presentation of all the shit I ain't gonna do. What else do you have for us on this special spooky episode?
Oh, well, I went into our Patreon and I said, hey guys, do you have a scary story? Do you have a ghost story or paranormal? I even was like, tell me about, kind of like unsolved mysteries. I was like, it could be UFOs, it could be paranormal, it could be just something strange that happened. It doesn't necessarily have to be scary. And I'm going to tell you, our patrons, I was surprised. We got some really great submissions. And so what you're about to hear are stories from your fellow stranger friends sharing their paranormal experiences with the rest of us.
Oh my goodness, sharing is caring. Thank you. We hope you enjoy this.
Yes. Boo.
I woke up. At least I thought I woke up. I was conscious, but I couldn't move. It was as if my body was still sleeping. But then I felt something, or someone. Whatever it was, I realized then that my soul was not the only spirit occupying my body. I was terrified, feared for my life. I'd never experienced anything like this happening before, and I panicked. It sensed my fear and vulnerability, and I heard the most evil, wicked laugh I'd ever heard in my life. It felt amused, emboldened. I didn't know what to do. I cried, and I called out for my great-grandmother. She had been dead for 5 years. I felt her presence, but the feeling wasn't a warm, unconditional grandmotherly love coming to save the day. Rather, she was terse, annoyed, and a little disappointed. What's the matter with you? You know what you need to do. Pray. And she left. I was overwhelmed by her presence, and I felt a mix of love and loss all over again. I prayed. I was challenged with mind-numbing headaches and awful, distracting sounds like white noise, static that you could feel vibrating in your mind. It was trying to break my concentration, break my prayer. Felt like it was trying to break me, but I prayed my way through it all. When its hold on me broke, I bolted up and sobbed. This was just the beginning of my Nightmare on Elm Street experience. I dreaded sleep for months. It was such a traumatic time. I can't even tell you how long it lasted, when it stopped, or why it stopped. It's all a blur, and the only thing that mattered to me was it stopped.
Hello, ladies. I had a weird thing happen after my dad died. We found out super early in the morning that he had passed, so I was up all night with my brother and his girlfriend. My other brother came later that morning, and they all took my son down to the pool to get out for a little bit. I was exhausted, so I stayed behind and took a nap. I woke up to my stereo being on and playing classical music. No one had been in the apartment. I never listened to classical music, but my dad sure did. I kept thinking of logical explanations, but finally decided it was my dad saying goodbye. My brother has experienced quite a few things, and they happened after our oldest brother committed suicide in it was December of 2010. We had a memorial out of town for him, and when my brother got home, his nursery smelled faintly of cigarette smoke. the house had been closed up and no one else that would have been around them smoked. That's happened on a couple of other occasions. And it's happened both at my brother's house when he lived in Costa Mesa, and then he moved to Yorba Linda. And the same thing has happened. Just every once in a while, just a faint whiff of smoke in a random room. So it's super weird. He's had random items tip over that were stable. One of those things is a Pele, a soccer legend. He has this wooden sculpture, and that thing went through frat days up in Berkeley and never tipped over, nothing. Stayed in the same spot. A couple weeks after my brother died, it just tipped over out of the blue. Freaking weird. Anyways, two things that got me a little shooketh. My sister had gone to a psychic and had sent all of us siblings a recording. On the anniversary of my brother's death, the recording started playing on my brother's computer in his office. He was the only one in the house and had been in the shower and remember shutting the computer down the day before. And also, when my brother's twins were babies, they'd have full-on babbling conversations with the big picture of my deceased brother. My brother had kind of made this almost like a shrine in his garage, and it had one of the pictures from the memorial service. It was a big blown-up picture. And he had my brother's old goalie gloves and his soccer cleats and a couple of Rams memorabilia. So they'd have these conversations, and we would sit there, and it's like, it's trippy to watch them looking at the picture and babbling, waiting for an answer, and then babbling more, and then giggling. Like, it really sounded like they were having a conversation. It was bizarre. This one isn't really paranormal, but I had a dream about my brother, the one that committed suicide, about a year after he died. He surprised me at my grandma's house in the kitchen, and I grabbed him and hugged him and asked what happened. He just kept repeating that he was okay now. He meant to do it, and he was okay. I woke up and lost my shit, but I truly believe he saw how much I was struggling with his death at that time and wanted to bring me peace. It's still painful. It's been 12 years now. It's still very painful. But the dream did help, and I still kind of think back on that and think that he was reaching out to me, and that, kind of just made me think that he is always there, just hopefully not watching me during sexy time. Anyways, these are nothing super crazy, but I believe these were times that my family members were reaching out. I look forward to seeing and hearing what our stranger friends' experiences have been. And thank you for including me in this. And I love this podcast. I love you ladies. I love this community. And yeah, spooky, spooky. Happy Halloweeny. Boo.
Hi, it's Natalie here to tell my stories of my ghost encounters. First, I need to preface this by saying I'm not super woo-woo. I'd like to believe our souls go somewhere to rest in peace, and sometimes some folks get stuck. And I'd like to think those who are able to cross over can still come back and celebrate with us and comfort us when we need it, kind of like Disney's Coco. But I don't believe in demons or spirits taking over or things like that. So here it goes. I went to college at one of those gazillion-year-old private schools that are rife with ghost stories of people dying in haunted buildings, including the dorms. One of my guy friends was a resident advisor in the ancient all-boys dorm, and he had like a mini apartment with his own bathroom. It was a normal bathroom, the sink by the door, and then a toilet, and then the shower. Just one small room. In the 2 years he had lived there, the water faucet on his bathroom sink would randomly be on. Like, you'd walk in and find the faucet running with the cold water handle turned on and the sink stopper pushed down and a sink full of cold water. It had been checked out by facilities a bunch of times, but they couldn't find anything wrong. Since it was one of the oldest dorms, it still had communal bathrooms. Gross. So my girlfriends and I would use his bathroom when we were over there. we all got used to checking the sink. So I'd seen it running before and it never scared me. I would just turn it off and continue on. One day I walked in and like usual, I checked the sink. It was empty and no running water. So I did my business and I went to wash my hands. While I got some soap and lathered up my hands, I was looking at myself in the mirror, making sure I didn't have something in my teeth or rub my eyeliner. So then I turned the hot water on and I went to rinse my hands under the water. But I realized as I was doing that the back of my hands, which were facing downward, were cold, like ice cold, even though I had turned the hot water on. So I looked down and the sink was full to the brim with ice cold water and the cold water handle turned on, even though the sink had been empty when I walked in. I calmly turned the water off, pushed the stopper open, let it go down while finishing washing my hands, and walked to the living room. I told my friend, and he said, "Cool." And that was it. It never happened to me again, and I don't recall if I ever saw the water running again. And that was that. I had a summer internship in college in the marketing department for a large football arena. Not a football team, but the actual facility itself. Our offices were on a private level that wasn't accessible to the public, but some of our vendors had offices that were located on the public concourse, like the same level you walk on to get your food and drinks. One day, I had to take something to one of the offices on the public concourse. I didn't usually walk on that level since our offices were a level down. So I saw a cleaning cart in the hallway of the public concourse. The facility itself didn't have a huge cleaning staff since it was usually contracted out for events, but we had a small staff who worked full-time, and on non-event days, they would work on a specific section to give them a little more thorough cleaning. So since we only had a small staff, and you always want to be nice to your cleaning staff, I figured I'd see who it was and say hi as I walked by. There was some music playing from the cart, which wasn't unusual since it's pretty empty. The cart was in the main concourse outside of the VOM. The VOMs are those little tunnels or entrances that take you from the main concourse where you're getting your concessions to your seats in section 102 or wherever. So as I got closer, I looked through the VOM to see who the cleaning person was. When I looked through, I saw a tiny child-sized head with dark hair look at me and pull back quickly and giggle like they were hiding or playing a game. So I kept walking because I figured someone brought their kid and I'm not trying to rat anyone out, but I was nosy and I wanted to know. When I got to a VOM farther down so I could look through, I only saw one person who was a ways away from the VOM, but no children. So I left it at that. A couple of days later, I got an email from a radio station looking to book the arena for a bit they were planning for October about haunted places in our city. I was telling my coworkers at lunch, and this one lady who had worked there since the facility had opened started telling us how her office used to be on that public concourse. She would sometimes hear laughing and giggling and hear little feet running around, but no one was there. Things on desks and cabinets would be moved or be turned around, and when she would walk in and notice things were moved, she would hear like muffled giggling. She said it really freaked her out at first, but she let it go. Then one day she was talking with someone about the history of the facility, and they told her that the land had once been an old quarry town, and apparently a lot of accidental deaths had occurred with child laborers. And that's all I know.
Hi everyone. I'm an Imperfect Strangers podcast listener. I'm here to share a story that is well suited for the season. The story is terrifying, but very, very true. I'm an Indigenous American. I'm Diné, which translates as the people in my native tongue, that is Navajo. I live in northwestern New Mexico. It is important that I preface these things because I'm about to discuss a topic that is rarely spoken about: Navajo witchcraft. It's a practice that uses a conjured dark malevolent spirit to do evil work. In my language, you call the spirit a Chmidi. For non-natives, you can refer to this spirit as a demon. Navajo witchcraft is a dark practice that is heavily affiliated with evil, death, dying, and the nighttime. The story I'm about to share is of skinwalkers, or Yenagloshis, as they are referred to in Navajo. The formal English translation is, by means of it, it goes on all fours. The casual translation basically means a witch who uses all four limbs to move around. A skinwalker is a witch who possesses supernatural powers and abilities. A skinwalker can be a man, woman, or a non-binary individual. Navajo witchcraft is generally practiced by adults ranging from seniors to young adults. Skinwalkers carry out their work at night. They often practice in covens. When they are encountered, they are often working alone. A coven practices their rituals in very remote places on or off the Navajo reservation. These places can be caves, deep forests, or canyons. Sometimes a coven will meet in a ghost hogan. A hogan is a traditional Navajo home. The reason why it's called a ghost hogan, it is a house that is abandoned by someone who has died. The house is empty. There is a very secret network of witches across Navajo communities on the reservation. A person or a couple who you may not suspect of being a witch could very well be one. You don't know who these people are. It's better not to discuss the topic of witchcraft or skinwalkers amongst Navajos, because you could very well be talking to someone who is a skinwalker. You don't want to put yourself in danger by suspecting someone of being a witch. Suspicion is risky and dangerous. Skinwalkers will communicate to a demon or demons using portals opened in the very remote areas that covens meet: caves, deep forests, canyons, or a ghost hogan. Conjure demons will let skinwalkers know if someone has said anything of the skinwalker that's in practice. The person who has talked will get harmed. That's why it is a bit dangerous and risky when we talk about this topic. The story I'm about to share is of a cousin who 5 years ago passed away. He was a Navajo Nation cop, and unfortunately he died at a very young age. His dad is rumored to be a witch. My cousin was very close to me, so he shared a lot of his experiences with me, and he was very open and candid about some of the things he experienced as a teenager. One night, at his house, he fell asleep on his living room couch. In his house, the kitchen, dining room, and the living room are an open space. His mother would leave the hutch light on in the dining room, and the light would illuminate the living room. One night after watching movies, he fell asleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up. He looked down the hallway. He hadn't moved. He just opened his eyes, and he saw a figure, a person, standing. This figure was standing upright like a human, and was looking down the hallway. So when my cousin opened his eyes, the thing, I guess you could say, didn't see him. I asked my cousin, who was it? And he said it was a person wearing a coyote hide. The head of the coyote was placed on top of the person's head, and it was worn like a cape. My cousin didn't know what he was looking at. He was terrified. He had never seen anything like this. And what bewildered him was, before going to sleep, he made sure that the front and back doors to his house were locked. He was shocked. How did this thing get into the house? He didn't hear the door open. He didn't hear anybody walking around. He continues looking at this thing. This thing, which is a skinwalker, turned its head and it looked straight at him. They made direct eye contact. My cousin fainted from fear. He woke up. He said that the thing that he saw in his hallway was crouched by the couch, and it was looking at him. My cousin turned his head, and he wasn't facing the living room but the cushion of the couch. He said that this thing, whatever it was, it smelled like rotting flesh. The scent was very powerful, and he was terrified. He fainted again. He woke up again, and this time he turned his head. The skinwalker was no longer in his house. He didn't know what he saw, and in this moment he was terrified. The next morning he woke up. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't tell his mom. At the time, his dad was not living with him. I asked my cousin, when you saw this thing looking down the hallway, did you recognize it? Did the person's shape, was it familiar to you? He told me, yeah, it was. I asked him, who do you think it was? He looked down. There was a pause, and he looked back up at me, and he said, yeah, it was my dad. His response did not surprise me because of his dad's affiliation with Navajo witchcraft.
This scary submission has been submitted by our lovely listener, Nicole C. It's a piece entitled Haunted. Am I okay? Are you okay, guys? I'll calm down. I'll relax. Hold on. I'm trying to be in voiceover mode and stuff. Amanda said to do my work. Hold on. I have these recurring dreams every other week or so that scare the shit out of me. There are only 2 specific dreams, but they both involve somebody watching me from outside a window in a house. In both, I'm usually laying down, either on my bed or on Jenna's sofa. I was alone and house sitting. And the color of the dreamscape is always very yellow-brown tinted. My first dream is really scary because I look up at the window from where I'm laying. The window in my room is directly above the bed, and I listen. And there are like low voices whispering in the air above me. I'm flat on my back, and I tilt my head up a little and meet the eyes of an ancient-looking white woman with a tight white bun and a stern, angry face staring at me. She wears a woolly gray dress, and sometimes I'm not laying down, but acting normal in my room, watching TV, sitting on my bed reading, and then from the corner of my eye, I'll spot this woman. She's not always alone, too. Sometimes there'll be a deck built outside my window, and her and another grisly old man are sitting in rocking chairs and watching me. They look as if the farmer and his wife from the painting, American Gothic, had died and are now looking at me as if I were living art. Anyways, I haven't dreamt that one in a while, but the image still creeps in my head now and then. My second dream involves me taking a nap on Jenna's couch in her old house, and I wake up groggily and see a nondescript, middle-aged man looking in on me from a window on the left side of the house, directly across from the part of the couch I'm on. This one isn't as creepy in the supernatural sense, but it's still scary in a repulsive, perverted way. The man looks like your average sex offender, I guess. Tall, bony with white hair and sunken-in eyes. That dream always seems to last forever because he eventually realizes that I'm awake and tries to break into the house. And I'm just laying there, scared and helpless, watching his shadow creep around. The weather in these dreams is always bright and yellow midday, too. I don't know what all this could mean, but I've tried looking them up in online dream dictionaries, and it's never listed. And you guys know that stupid joke or line that you see on t-shirts, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean someone isn't watching you. Yeah, I hate that.
Shout out to our stranger friends who are also part of our Patreon community who so generously donated their ghost stories for our listening enjoyment this week. A big spooky boo hug to our friends Sharon, Natalie, Kendra, Nicole, and Gregory. Thank you guys so much for sharing your stories. They were so good. Oh my gosh. I can't believe we have so many ghosties in this community. If you want to become a patron, you can join us by going to patreon.com/imperfect strangers. We have 4 different tiers. If you are an actual friend, which is our $20 tier, you get a bonus Imperfect Strangers episode every single week. Wild. You could listen to us twice in 1 week. That would be crazy. That would be so good for you. You can find us on Instagram at imperfectstrangers_podcast, on Twitter at imperfstrangers, and on the World Wide Web at imperfectstrangerspodcast.com. If you want to send us an email, you can do that at askimperfectstrangers@gmail.com. Make sure that you have your notifications turned on for Instagram so that you don't miss an Instagram Live and that you don't miss any of our episode announcements or any of the fun stuff we've got going on. Y'all, we are getting ready to celebrate our 100th episode, and for that we have a very special guest planned. And we are choosing to bump up or change, rather, our holiday party this year. And we're making it our 100th episode party. So we have enlisted help from Stranger Friend Matt, who, if you have been to a Stranger Friend Zoom party before, you will know that Matt is an amazing party planner. So join us. We have sponsors again this year who are donating incredible gifts. People like Lola and Carr, Trizzy Studios, the Moon Candle Company, Wandering Bud is a new sponsor this year, Makeup by Sarah Basso. So lots of fun stuff. We'll be giving away merch. We'll be giving away a Cousins recording episode, so don't make sure you miss out. We will be posting that information on the Instagram, so check back there. You can get information on where it is, when it is, and how to buy your ticket. And with that, happy Halloween. And thank you for joining us this month for our very special, very spooky episodes. Goodbye.